I'm Rabbi Ariann Weitzman of Bnai Keshet in Montclair, New Jersey. In synagogues all over the world, we're currently reading the liberation story of our people from Egyptian bondage. This story includes the vocal leadership of Moses and Aaron against the hard-heartedness of Pharaoh and a cycle of escalating violence through the plagues. Although Moses represents the first time the Israelites have had a public leader in Egypt, a loud and impassioned voice in Pharaoh's court, arguing for their freedom, his role is not actually the beginning of the stirrings of liberation. It is not even the beginning of the fight for freedom. Instead, Moses represents a final stage of organized Israelite power, the culmination of years of private resistance. We can see the beginnings of that private resistance right at the beginning of Exodus. The representatives of that resistance are the midwives, Shifra and Puah, who resist Pharaoh's attempts at annihilation in the most private spaces of Israelite life, in the birthing chambers of their infants. One Midrashic interpretation puts that resistance even further back. The Midrash teaches that Israelites became afraid to have more children when Pharaoh threatened their babies. Many couples, including Yocheved and Amram, purposefully avoided further pregnancies. It wasn't until Miriam encouraged them to fight back against the fear instilled by Pharaoh's decree that they decided to have another child, Moses. At the beginning of his leadership, Moses' speech fails to encourage the Israelites who are crushed by their oppression. Although Moses and Aaron eventually become the successful public representatives for the Israelites, it is only the strength of the Israelites' own efforts to free themselves and their ability to walk out of Egypt on their own feet that affects their liberation. Soon, we will be commemorating the memory of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, one of the most successful spokespeople of a liberation movement in human history, a profound thinker, organizer, and orator. It would be impossible to put his genius into the 400 words I'm allotted today. Unlike Moses, the Reverend King was certainly not slow of speech. And yet, just as with Moses, the Reverend King's efforts would have come to nothing without the work of a swelling movement of organized private and public resistance, represented not just by adults, but by small children. Many of the names of the heroes of the civil rights movement are known to us: Claudette Colvin, Bayard Rustin, Fannie Lou Hamer, along with dozens of other organizers, activists, and thinkers. But many of those names are unknown or not counted among our heroes. Our tradition says that 3 million Israelites left Egypt on foot, and we only know a handful of their names. This Martin Luther King Day, let's hold in our memories the unnamed millions of heroes of a movement that changed our country and the world, who the Reverend King was privileged to represent.